I think today it's time to talk about the biggest scam, college.
Ah! Good God! It's hideous.
Do you need to go to college to have success? The answer to that is no. And we're going to talk about the hidden fees within it. We're going to talk about everything. But first, let's talk about why you do not need college. And for me to do that, we're going to transition over and we're going to start off with a handful of articles we have here. This is from Business Insider right here. We're seeing Elon Musk said a college degree isn't required for a job at Tesla, and Apple, Google, and Netflix don't require employees to have a 4-year degree either. We're seeing every single major company make this transition, and let's hear exactly why. Even the CEO of Tesla doesn't think you need it. Tesla CEO Elon Musk said colleges are not for learning, but rather a place to have fun. During a conversation at the Satellite 2020 conference, Musk said that you can learn anything online for free and noted that billionaire moguls like Bill Gates and Oracle's Larry Ellison dropped out of college. Ideally, he added, you would have dropped out of school and actually learned something, right? So before I go any further, this reminds me of the famous scene in Silicon Valley. I forgot the name of the individual, but he keeps saying, do not go to college, just go learn skills. Instead of going to college, go work at Domino's, go do literally anything but go to school. And there's a lot we can learn here. And what we're seeing is, for the first time, the ground is changing. The past 30, 50 plus years, you've been required to go to college. And this is the system that has held down a large portion of people. It was a system that said, hey, you can't get a job if you went to this specific college unless you went to this specific college. You have to have a bachelor's degree. For the first time, we're seeing meritocracy truly win out. And what I mean by that is the importance of skilled workers, the importance of workers that understand how to create an amazing product, that understand how to communicate in a team environment. That's what everybody needs. By the way, that's why we designed Devslopes in that specific manner. This idea that before you get a job, you need to get freelance work. You need to understand how to communicate professionally. You need to understand not just to develop software or to provide a really good service, but to provide a product or create a product and thinking about what the end result of that is. Being mindful of the end result. Nobody does that. This is what doing on-the-job stuff is needed for. And you do not learn that in college. See, college has become a massive scam for one particular reason. They realize that their educations don't work anymore for the most part, unless you're going to become a lawyer, a doctor, or something to where there's a really practical reason for you to go to school. Unless you are in those areas, it's completely impractical. But what's worst about it is that they continue feeding in this lie, right? They get student loans. And we're going to talk about that too in just a moment. Before we go any further, let's continue this here. Tesla CEO said this. Then we're looking at what Tim Cook, CEO of Apple, says. Cook said in 2019 that about half of Apple's US employment last year included people without 4-year degrees. Cook reasoned that many colleges do not teach the skills that business leaders need most in their workforce, such as coding. He's openly saying, Apple's CEO is openly saying, it's not teaching people how to become coders. You're going to take that class in Python. You're going to somehow learn C# for a semester that no one remembers. By the way, if you want proof that no one remembers this, go look at the Jake the Programmer skits on Devslopes. Connor goes around, or Jake, sorry. He goes around and interviews all these people. Oh yeah, I'm a comp sci major. Well, what did you learn? C# for a semester, but I don't really know how it works. How is that practical? You're spending tens of thousands of dollars to become familiar with something that you're not going to learn. That's absolutely insane. And we see this going on. You don't need an Ivy League diploma to get a job at Apple or Tesla, but you would get paid more on average if you have one. Completely fair. The reset could have major implications for how employers find talent and open up opportunities for 2/3 of Americans without college education, according to a report by independent nonprofit researcher, the Burning Glass Institute. What we're seeing here is the implications of the Great Reset. The Great Reset being the individuals who are getting jobs without having to go to college. That is the most important thing. Companies move to drop college degree requirements for new hires and focus on skills. This is from Computer World. This is amazing. A new study shows that employers are ending college degree requirements for many job openings, focusing instead on skills, experience, and personality traits. Are you a curious person? Are you a curious person? Are you a problem solver? They're looking at the core areas of what would make a great developer instead of just saying, hey, this person knows how to code, we should hire him. No, we no longer have to do that. We're looking for someone that has all the traits of an amazing employee and developing them further. The sea change opens up tech jobs to a more diverse pool of candidates. This is from August 10th, 2022. Let's see what they have here. At Google, a 4-year degree is not required for almost any role at the company, and a computer science degree isn't required for most software engineering or product management positions. Our focus is on demonstrated skills and experience, and this can come through degrees or it can come through relevant experience, said Tom DeWale, Google's Vice President of People's Experience. Similarly, Bank of America has refocused its hiring efforts on skill-based approach. They specifically said this. We recognize that prospective talent think they need a degree to work with us, but it's simply not the case. We are dedicated to recruiting a diverse talent pool to provide an equal opportunity to find careers in financial services that don't require a degree. And again, skills-based hiring is on the rise, right? Existing workers can gain new skills. We're seeing these amazing things. If you're out there looking for signs that you should not go to college, this is the perfect example. This is why we built Devslopes, so we could provide an opportunity for people to learn affordable ways to make career transitions. And I want to emphasize one final thing here. It's hard. We saw in last video, the CEO of Lambda School, Bloom Tech, whatever name change they're going to make next, saying it won't take 12 weeks, It's not going to take 12 weeks. This transition, it's going to take 24. Bullshit. Very few people are going to be able to dedicate 3 to 6 months to learn how to code. We have a clear process. The clear process from what we have seen, and the audience of the individuals we work with are typically individuals between the ages of 18 to 35. Typically have responsibilities. These are people that have everyday lives. They have jobs. They can't just leave their job. They can't just go to a school and just say, oh, I have a perfect life. I could just go to the school, assume no debt. Everything's going to be fine. They can't do that. Why? Because they're normal Americans, they're normal people. They have responsibilities. They're not entitled. They don't have families that could just give them money to survive. They have bills. And what we've also seen is by forcing the learning into a short 3 to 6 month period, you force something that can't really be forced. Most individuals to learn brand new concepts of software engineering, then also be able to practice those. We have found it takes 16 months for you to go from being interested in coding to actually being able to get a job. That 16-month period includes a process of just getting to the process where you can take on freelance projects. That's up until about midway through JavaScript, right? Just for you to be qualified to take on freelance projects. And then for you to learn how to communicate professionally, to learn how to sell yourself, to learn how to create solutions to massive problems, to learn how to have crucial conversations. It's really hard. Most of us do not have those skills initially. We need to take our time and develop them, which takes lots of experience. It takes lots of time to learn how to communicate with people that you maybe don't see eye to eye with. That's what employers are looking for, and that's what you need. Colleges do not teach this anymore, and your average boot camp is not going to teach that. That's why we created the Vocational School of Devslopes. But before I go on and on, which I can, we're going to transition back here. We need to address the problem. That problem being the student loan debt. Now, this is from NerdWallet, extremely reputable website for data. And this is student loan data statistics for 2023. As of 2022, there's $1.76 trillion in student loan debt. Now, when we go through this, we need to look for a couple things. First, we're going to look at the average debt for a bachelor's degree and a graduate degree. And what we know is a large portion of developers do have bachelor and graduate degrees. Now, something to keep in mind here. Most of the individuals that have bachelor and graduate degrees do not have them in computer science or even STEM. So a good example of this, one of our mentors has a chemical engineering degree, right? He's a chemist essentially, and he became a software engineer. Now, before we go any further, I want us to look at this number, $28,400. That is the average amount of student loan debt. Now, one thing I did some Googling on beforehand is the average person takes 21 years to pay off their student loan debt. Now let's look over here. The average interest of student loans, according to best colleges, it looks like an even bank rate right here. It ranges from 4.2 to 9.8% for the average interest rate. So let's look at what happens here, right? So let's start off at 24,000. We're just gonna put in 24,000. 21 years. And let's just say we start off with 4.2% interest. Now, that $24,000 degree that you got is in fact going to cost upwards of, let's say here, $36,000. Guess what? College is still cheaper than going to Bloom Tech, which is going to charge you $40,000 to $50,000. Absolutely insane. Now, we need to be mindful here of what happens if it jumps to 9.2, right? Let's say if you get on the higher range of the interest, which with federal interest rates rising on a continual basis, there's a good chance you're going to get it that high. We're looking at your student loans costing a total of $35,000. You're going to pay more in interest than you would on the actual tuition itself. Now we have to keep in mind, this does not factor in cost of living. This does not factor in cost of books. This is just tuition. Guys, that's insane. This is a lot of money. This is not practical. So let's move a little bit further. Let's say you went and you got a graduate degree, and let's know there's a lot of people with graduate degrees. So we're gonna put in $71,000. And let's just say you got the worst interest rate, right? You got 9.2. We're gonna calculate this. You'd be about $160,000 to $170,000 in debt. $160,000 to $170,000 in debt. $637 a month payments for 21 years. This is insane. This is where we start seeing problems arise. We are in an environment where they do not care as much about the education. What they care about is, what have you done, right? If you show up to me and you tell me, Nathan, I want to apply for one of your React developer positions. I'm relatively new, but this is what I can show you. I can show you 5 freelance projects where I built out a project from scratch, right? Some of these are static websites. 2 of these are actual software applications that I have built for clients. Now, in addition, I have 5 client testimonials that I will show you right now that talk about what it was like working with me. They're going to tell you what it was like with me getting things done on time, the experience, my ability to complete stuff. They're going to talk about me as a professional. That is how you stand out, not from having references from your Uncle Joe or from your past employers who have completely irrelevant experiences. If you want to make the job transition, you have to be able to show that you are a genuine professional. And there's one analogy I love to tell our students, right? Nobody wants to make the first bet on somebody. Think about this. Why do so many people struggle to make their job transition? The reason why they cannot make that job transition is because they never had something to sell. They're always going up to somebody saying, hey, I would love you to hire me. I would love you to make a big bet on me. And when they say why, all you're gonna be able to say is, I went to a coding boot camp, or I went to school. I'd be a great hire. Hire me, please? No, I'm not doing that. I'm not gonna hire you. But if you showed up and said, Nathan, I understand I'm relatively new to this field. I've been studying it for about 1.5 years now. I have 5 paid freelance projects that I could show you right now. Each one has a testimonial from that client talking about their experience working with me, my ability to complete projects on time. I could even show you the code. In addition, I could show you some areas where I've actually contributed to projects on GitHub, right? I've actually pushed into projects, I've contributed to them. I care about this field, and I can show you that I do. That is who you want to be if you want to get a job in coding, and that's how you stand out. And realistically, it shouldn't cost you more than $10,000. That's all you should be spending for a vocational school at this moment. That's how you make this transition. Now let's move a little bit further. Let's see what else we've got here. More students are turning away from colleges and towards apprenticeships. Some white-collar training jobs have become as selective as Ivy League schools. So this is talking about a woman named Dina Sosa Cruz. She's speaking to her parents, and they're thinking, what do you do? And she was saying that she was considering going to college, and her family unanimously told her, take the apprenticeship. You'll be worry-free. Now today, colleges and universities enroll about 15 million undergraduate students, while companies employ 800,000 apprentices. In the past decade, college enrollment has declined about 15%, while the number of apprentices has increased by more than 50% according to federal data. This is a big deal. We're seeing everything changing. The gap between the number of students going to college and those selecting apprenticeships is closing, as many employers are struggling to find workers in the tightest job market. It's getting competitive. Meanwhile, more students say they are wary of enrolling in college for fear that's going to leave them in debt and holding a degree that hasn't prepared them for a good job in a fast-changing labor market. It's just the truth. Everything is changing so fast. The Python that you're learning may be obsolete in 4 to 5 years, like realistically, especially if you get your master's and you're not working. Who knows what's going to change in that 7 years? 7 years ago, React was not near as developed as it was now, and now it's becoming massive, right? You want to get a front-end job, you're going to have to know React. You're going to have to know Angular, but things have developed so quickly. So instead of spending 7 years learning about the theory or learning about basic things, You just learn it on the job, or you buy a book in mathematics, you buy a book in whatever you need to and teach yourself that thing. But realistically, what you just need to know is the basic stack of what technology you want to go down, and just learn that. Learn it with mentorship. It's the only way to speed up this time frame, besides the fact that you're going to have to practice it a ton. And if you have a mentor looking over that practice time, it changes everything. Then we're going to jump over here. This is some really interesting feedback. Again, more students are foregoing colleges for apprenticeship. It's kind of popping up everywhere because they need more skilled workers, and the labor market is intense. So what you're saying is that we need an apprenticeship model So we're seeing that these apprenticeship models more and more of a white collar space, including insurance, banking, IT. Where else are we seeing them, and which industries and which part of the countries? Because hey, what if they're only in big areas? And he's saying that they're super spread all over. This is somebody that's been researching this closely. What's interesting about the phenomenon is that it's very organic. It's being driven in high schools. It's being driven from corporations. It's being driven within the trades, and the government is now behind it. So it's kind of popping up everywhere. And it's prompting people to think a little bit more creatively about what they want to do. And we could take this as a sign that the traditional four-year college is losing a bit of its appeal. And now we're going to transition to look up just a handful of random job postings that I looked at. React developer. Summary, we're seeking a front-end developer with experience with React and Next.js. Next.js is going to be mostly something you're going to need to learn, but you can learn it relatively quickly, especially after you've already gone through a process of learning full-stack development. Now, we're going to scroll down here. Required skills, familiarity with backend APIs, all this stuff is great. Now let's look here. Education experience. Bachelor's degree in comp sci or related field, or equivalent work experience. This is what I know for a fact. Somebody that went through a 16-month-long program like Devslopes, a vocational school, and graduated from that school, has an amazing portfolio, has paid freelance work. 10 out of 10 times they're beating that. So they're beating the degree student, the person that spent 4 to 7 years in school. They're beating them every time. They have substantially less debt, wildly affordable payments, and they were able to earn income while they were learning how to code. This is a game changer. More people need to be doing this. This college route is completely ridiculous. And this is from 18 days ago. That's amazing. Senior front-end developer. Now keep in mind, there's a reason why I pulled this. I wanted to pull a senior front-end developer position just so we could see it. Are you going to be limited? If you went into the coding route, is your career going to be limited because you didn't go to college? And what we could see here, minimal requirements. 5+ years of UI and UX design and development experience, sound knowledge of ADA and W3C, expert level understanding of personas, journeys, epic stories, UI tools and technologies, React, JavaScript, CSS, HTML, C#, and .NET Core, REST APIs, yada, yada, yada. Nice to have. Yeah, these things would be nice to have. Extra nice to haves. Okay, we see more. No mention of college. Required experience, UI and UX development, 5 years. You know what I don't see on here? I don't see somebody begging for a college degree. So we can come pretty closely to an answer here. We can see that we've been lied to. Why have we been lied to so much? Because the system that supported the old way of working, right, is now being shut down. It's risking. And the worst part about this is universities are trying to tell you that you need to go to a university, not just to study your skills, but because they're pandering. What do I mean by that? Universities are no longer focused on purely teaching you what you want to know, but they're now adding ridiculous things on when it's not necessary. If you want to become a software engineer, you should not be having to learn about gender studies. This doesn't have to get political. This is black and white. You shouldn't have to take a biology class. You shouldn't have to take an accounting class. If you want to become a software engineer, you learn about software engineering. You should not be focused with other bullshit that does not apply to you. What kind of false security, what kind of false world are we living in? When you're being forced to learn about these ridiculous fields, arts and liberal arts, you shouldn't be having to learn about any of these things. You should be exclusively focused on what is going to make you great at becoming a software engineer. Realistically, they should be telling you this is going to take years. It's going to take you a year and a half to become really proficient at this, to be able to survive when being asked to create software. You won't be great at it, but you will be job ready for it. right? You'll be at a point to where you can be mentored and developed. In addition, you're gonna have to practice, practice, practice. And what's even worse, what makes me so angry is that you go into these stupid colleges and they're not even gonna tell you what you got wrong on your exams. They're gonna give you exams. They're gonna ask you data structure and algorithm questions that aren't even that practical anymore, that you're not gonna really need to know once you're on the job. And then to make it worse, they're gonna give you a pass-fail. Real world doesn't work like that. If you get an 80% in your final grades for your software engineering classes, you graduate with a 3.5. That seems amazing on a 4.0 scale. But guess what? If you fall a little bit short, if you're 90% good at what you need to do, that additional 10% of just not knowing what you failed at, you're screwed. Imagine 10% not knowing or not being proficient at and applying that towards your baseline salary. So you go from making $100,000 a year to being dropped to $90,000. 10% matters. And this is the problem with almost every single college out there and every single bullshit boot camp that is now popping up because they want to grab your money. What they're telling you is, hey, we just need to push you through here fast. We need to make it 12 to 24 weeks because we kind of need you in and out the door quickly because it's cost of goods sold. It's business. I'm going to be honest. I know everything about the educational loan factor. I look at hundreds to thousands of them every single year. I'm the CEO of one of the fastest growing vocational schools for coding and soon to be more skills, right? We're soon going to be breaking into the marketing space and a couple other spaces that I came from. I know what's happening. And I know that these people, all they care about are their margins and their COGS. Listen, I care about that too. But what I'm seeing here is schools that do not care about making you into an amazing developer. What they care about is getting you in and getting you out. That's why they tell you you could learn in 3 to 6 months. No, you can't. A select amount of people can learn in 3 to 6 months. Those that do not have any concerns, they do not have issues with anxiety, they do not have issues with generational curses for the people just thinking, man, I don't know if I'm good enough at this. I don't think I'm enough. Almost every person suffers with this idea of imposter syndrome. And we're going to talk a lot about this and the actual data and science behind it and how it impacts our ability to acquire skills. And what we're seeing is that unless you have a perfect mindset, you borderline came from an entitled family that provides you with all the financial resources you need, and you never had rough times, right? You're not really insecure about anything. You're in good shoes then to go to a traditional boot camp. That's going to take 3 to 6 months. But for the rest of us that have had lots of hardships, it's going to be hard. When you're learning a brand new skill, you're wanting to make a career transition from being a teacher, a chemist, or anything else into a brand new field, you're going to face an insane amount of imposter syndrome. You're going to face an insane amount of thoughts thinking, man, am I good enough to do this? I don't know if I'm good enough, right? I think I'm too stupid. How am I supposed to do this? That's going to be going through your head 24/7. This feeling of shame that I am not good enough for this. That's why it takes 16 months. Gaining the skills is just one part of this, but being able to gain, retain, and implement these skills is the hard part. And for you to do this, there's a million barriers you're going to have to overcome in this process. So please, when you're looking into the educational route for yourself, think about what is best for you. Be mindful of the market. Understand the insane marketing tactics that are being used to hook you in, because none of it is real. The only thing you should be looking for is a program that you can back, a program that you believe in, a program that you think is going to be built to help you in the long run. And the program that doesn't offer a shortcut. There are no shortcuts. It's going to take you 16 to 18 months to make that job transition. We have remarkable students that are incredibly smart that are still taking 16 to 18 months, because where you live impacts this, your ability to gain new skills impacts this, the life you have around you, the environment you have around you, your family and friends will impact this heavily. Everything impacts it. So instead of spending your time, do not waste it on a college. Do not waste it on a traditional boot camp. The only good option out there right now is learning on your own, right? There's good resources for that, to figure out if you're curious and if you like it. And if you do like it, the only program that's out for you is Devslopes. It is the only program available. And if you want to learn more about that, go to devslopes.com/apply. I look forward to hearing more and more and more about this from you guys. If you have questions below, drop it in the comment section. I read every single comment, right? So keep that in mind. Anything you have, drop it below. I'll talk to you guys later.